Welcome once again, nerds, to the news. Things are looking a little different for this episode. We'll explain that at the end, but right now we have in the music section Ronnie Radke drama for some reason. It is the non-E3 season has begun over in gaming and tech. There is a new Avengers comic announced in the comic book section. The follow-ups in the TV streaming section is just going absolutely bonkers. Kevin Smith is in just a little bit of trouble over in the movie section. Plus, we have some potential gaming drama to talk about in the rumor mill. All that and honestly quite a bit more. So let's jump into it. Okay, so in this week's music section, we have Ronnie Radke is apparently quitting, but it's not exactly what that sounds like. We have a mysterious new band in the new music section called OV, who just dropped a new blackened death metal banger, honestly. And then touring news, we have Protest the Hero and Jinjer. So let's talk about all the things. Okay, so follow-ups and corrections. I mean, I didn't really know where else to put this, so that's where it's going, but following in reverse, Ronnie Radke is apparently quitting the scene. I don't know why this is news. The reason I decided to put this as a follow-up, because we've been talking about some of the drama going on with Falling in Reverse, with the whole playing to tracks situation, and then we talked about that new track, Ronald, which is actually not bad. I'm not generally a Falling in Reverse fan, but that's a pretty cool new track. Just felt like this was a thing that I wanted to address, in that it's not really that serious, because who cares? He released a video, just to give you the TLDR. Ronnie Radke released a video talking trash about the scene, basically. The scene that he grew up in and the scene that he claims to have helped create. It's like, I don't know if you created it, but you definitely fed into it. I feel like that's probably an appropriate way to refer to your influence on the scene. He definitely fed into the scene, but now he's leaving the scene because he makes more money than any of the people in the scene. Like, it's just the most ridiculous rock star take on people talking trash to him in the comments section. This is really how that goes. So yeah, that's a thing that happened. Let's get into some actual news, shall we? Which would be moving us into the new music section. Our first track in new music is from a band, Bleed From Within. These guys have been around for a little while. The new track is called Hands of Sin. This is kind of how I would describe like octane core, but not with all of the negative connotations. It's octane core with heart. There's a bridge towards the end of this that's super freaking groovy. I haven't really listened extensively to Bleed From Within, but this track at the very least is kind of the best of what you could expect out of what people call octane core, and I would probably give this a mild recommendation for sure. Then let's talk about Falling in Reverse. The new track that was released, it is featuring Jelly Roll. The name of the song is All My Life, and I mean, it's not terrible, but is it really metal? It's kind of like metal country, which is a weird thing to put. Like, it's not ass-jack metal country in the Hank 3 style of the word. It's not the early Avenged Sevenfold, which would be kind of Western metal almost. This is just, I don't know, basically just a pop song with some heavy guitars, and I don't even think there's any screamed vocals in this. One thing I did want to, maybe I'll toss this one to the audience, but when the hell did Blair White become a video vixen? Like, this is the second music video I've seen her in the last 6 months. So, I don't know, it just seems like a strange... Apparently, we're getting political figures into our music videos as scenery, I guess. As far as the track goes, though, this is a super soft, like, maybe check it out if you care, but if you don't, there's nothing special about it. There's nothing to write home about it. So if you hear it on the radio, don't change the channel, but, like, I wouldn't actively seek this one out. Our next track comes from a band called Oceano. I've been passively aware of these guys for some time. Like, I've listened to some of their stuff previously. They just put a new track called Wounds Never Healed. This is quality Sumerian core. I know everybody's doing their different cores and things, but I don't know if these guys are signed to Sumerian Records, but this is the kind of band that Sumerian Records signs, heavy all the way through and really well executed, but honestly not a whole lot of dynamic there or anything exceptional to make you feel like you have to go out and find this one. But it's pretty solid, so if you're interested, go check it out. Links, as always, down in the video description. And our next track comes from a band that I honestly thought had been done making music for some time, and that is Smile Empty Soul. Those guys that sang the Bottom of the Bottle song, At the Bottom of the Bottle, that song, they have a new track called Savior. It's not gonna top Bottom of the Bottle, but it's a pretty solid rock tune. This is definitely something that would get played on butt rock radio, and this would be one that I think is going to go very far. It's not exactly the genre I tend to listen to when it comes to rock and roll, but again, very well done, very well executed. I can't say anything necessarily too bad aside from the mediocrity, so check it out. Sure, why not? Our next one, this is the one that kind of blew me away the most this week, is a new band with a new song. The band is called Ovi, O-V-I. I'm pretty sure that's how that's pronounced. And then the name of the track is Cruciixation. This is some blackened death, but this is blackened only in the slightest sense of it. Really, the blackened elements come from the vocal delivery. Really, it's just a driving death metal track, and at first it took me a second to warm up to this one, but wow, as soon as you get like into the groove of this track, it just pummels and never lets up. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to hear more from this new band. Again, the name of the band, Avi, the name of the track, Cruciixation. Go check it out for sure. And then the last one is thanks to the YouTube algorithm. It's from a band called Starset, whom I've never heard of, but they've been around for some time. The name of the track is Brave New World. I like this track much better than the book it is named after, because yeah, definitely not going to get into Aldous Huxley. But this feels like, I mean, this is the first I've been exposed to this band, but it definitely feels like there is some heavy Sleep Token influence, or similar influences as Sleep Token. I don't know the history of this band, how long they've been around or whatnot, but yeah, definitely feels very Sleep Token, but they have their metal out up front much more pronounced than Sleep Token. I feel like go listen to the track though for sure, and then you'll see why I'm making that comparison. But I feel like this is a little less of questionable entry into the metal catalog. Definitely some quality like ethereal metal, I guess we could call this one. Which brings us into tours and festivals. First tour that just was announced since we last spoke is Jinjer. Jinjer has announced that they're going out on tour with Hanabie and Born of Osiris. Hanabie, if you don't know, they are the Japanese metal band that has kind of blown up over the course of the last few months. Not baby metal, but there are very similar elements between Hanabie and baby metal. And then Born of Osiris obviously is where we got Jason Richardson as well as Tosin Abasi and other people, but those are kind of the two biggest dudes that have come out of Born of Osiris. We talked about Born of Osiris a number of times on the channel, how I'm a bit of a fan, but more of a fan of the Abasi Richardson days than I am of the current lineup, but still quality stuff, and you can't necessarily go wrong with Jinjer either. The tour starts September 20th in Sayreville, New Jersey, runs through October 13th in Sacramento, California, finishing up the last date. The October 13th date is the Aftershock date. I believe all three bands are playing Aftershock, so it will be a final date for all of them. I don't know if I would have to double check the lineup, and I don't have that in front of me. So that's what we got there. Our next big tour that was announced since we spoke last, honestly, was announced, I think, the day before last week's episode went up. So I'm just slacking, apparently, because I missed the fact that Protest the Hero has announced that they are going out on tour. The bands that they're taking with them are 68, whom I've never heard of, Grehaven, and Kaonashi. Really don't know who that is either. It is not going to be all three of those bands. There are two separate legs of this tour. First leg is 68 and Grehaven, and the second leg is 68 and Kaonashi. Actually, I have that backwards. First leg is 68 and Kaonashi. Second leg is 68 and Grehaven. It's the 10-year anniversary for their Volition record, which is their third label, or their third record since they got label backing. I don't know that the Volition had a label on it. I think only Kazai and Fortress. There we go. I think only Kazai and Fortress were on a label. Volition might have been the first one without. Either way, it's their third record since they got big, quote unquote, and it's 10 years since its release. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked for the guys. That is the reason for going out. They don't have new music that they're promoting, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. August 1st in Detroit is the first day on it, and then it runs through October 25th in London, Ontario. And you can purchase your tickets with the knowledge, the happy knowledge that you're not giving your money to Ticketmaster, because Protest the Hero are very adamantly against the Ticketmaster Live Nation situation right now, so they find every way around it that they can. So you're not going to be purchasing your tickets through Ticketmaster, so you can be comforted in that knowledge. That, though, is what we got for tours and festivals. Oh no, I'm losing my notes. There we go. That brings us into regular news. In this week's regular news section, we only have one piece for music, and that is Lamb of God. Lamb of God's Ashes of the Wake 20th Anniversary Edition is coming out soon. It's turning 20 this year, and to commemorate this, they're releasing a box set of it that's going to feature new mixes of the tracks, a couple of demo versions, some live versions. Also is going to be a proper re-recorded version, which you've probably heard on the radio at this point, if you've been listening to the radio or Sirius XM, whatever. Properly re-recorded version of Another Nail for Your Coffin, which normally Lamb of God are not ones to re-record anything, but this one will be featuring vocalists from Kublai Khan and Malevolence. It is going to feature, there's 3 different releases. There's going to be a vinyl release, a digital release, and a CD release, and they're all going to have different remixes and things. So you're gonna have to, if you want to get everything, you want a physical copy of all of them, then you're going to have to buy all of the releases. But otherwise, where is it? All formats include the trio of new remixes and live recordings of Remorses for the Dead, and Now You've Got Something to Die For, while the 2 CD and digital versions include demo versions of Laid to Rest, Ashes of the Wake, and Remorse for the Dead. So that's going to be the split. I guess it's not all 3. It's vinyl or CD is really how that breaks down. So that is what we have for all of the regular music stuff, aside from our musical suggestion for the week. I was hoping, I had misunderstood the announcement, but I was hoping that Unto Others' new record is what was dropping properly this week, but really it's just their new single, Raigeki. It is currently, as I am recording this, being played once every hour on the hour on Liquid Metal on the Sirius XM satellite radio. So if you can do, I mean, it's going to be all over Sirius XM for probably the next month. So if you don't want to go purchase it, you can listen to it there, do all the call-ins and all the stuff. It's a hell of a track. I misunderstood. I thought they were going to be playing a different track from the record all day long today, but really it's just the one track, sadly. So no new record from Unto Others yet, but you can tide yourself over with this new track. It's a hell of a new song. Go check it out. And now we're rolling into gaming and tech. This week in gaming and tech, honestly, everything that we're doing, basically, like 99.9% of everything we're going to be talking about comes from the Xbox Showcase and the Ubisoft Forward event. So yeah, that's really all I've got for an intro for this section. So let's do it. Okay, so first up, we have the Xbox Games Showcase. It was a little over an hour long, and it was jam-packed full of stuff. So we're going to go over the real quick things right now, the bigger trailers that they launched. We will go over in the trailers section in a little bit more detail. Right now, we're just going to run through kind of some of the impressions for the other noteworthy things that weren't exactly ones that I wanted to go into great depth in the trailers. So we have State of Decay 3. This definitely feels to me like Left 4 Dead. So that's pretty great, honestly. It looks pretty awesome. We have the Fallout 76 map expansion finally rolling out today as I'm filming. So yesterday, probably as you're watching. And we got Expedition 33. Looks like Skyfall Interactive's next Souls-like game. I was uncertain as to who the developer was on this, but it's got a very Western look to the Souls-like kind of stuff. So I'm be interested to see how this one rolls out. This very interesting premise as well. It's a trailer that's worth looking into if you don't want to watch the entire Xbox Games Showcase. And then we got the Diablo 4 expansion, Vessel of Hatred, coming out this October. Something that started, that was rolling out on the Microsoft stuff. All right, so Microsoft is the largest company in the world. They are by far and beyond like the most profitable country in the world, and their Xbox Games Showcase had games that were muted for copyright reasons. It's a little ridiculous. Like, just pay the extra money or YouTube sort your shit out, because this is insane that the game has the right to use the music. So the people who developed the trailer for the game put it in the trailer because they have the right, but Microsoft doesn't have the right. Like, this is way too stupid and complicated. There's no reason for it. Let's simplify this nonsense so that we don't ever have to do that again. And I doubt that's going to happen, but here's to hoping. Then we have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It looks like sounds like AI Harrison Ford voice, which is an interesting take. Maybe it's a voice actor doing a fairly good impersonation of Harrison Ford, but there are definitely moments in that trailer that sound like they took young Harrison Ford voice and fed it into like 11 Labs or something and used that to generate the dialogue, because it doesn't sound like grizzled old man Harrison Ford who lives today. It sounds like Harrison Ford when they made the first Indiana Jones movie, which is very, very interesting. The release date on that one is 2024 sometime. The next one that was really freaking cool was Mecha Break. It is launching this August. That looks like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. If you're into the mech games, then yes, did you go check that one out. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. We finally have a release window. It is a very broad window, but a window nonetheless. That is 2025. Atom Fall looks like a very interesting Fallout reimagining in a way. It's not the same kind of retro futurism. This one is a little more of the futurism degraded into historical kind of. I don't know. It's a really cool trailer. I'm very intrigued by the idea of it because it is, like I said, a very similar take on post-apocalyptic world to Fallout, but very different in some key areas. We have a release date for that one, or a release window for that one as well, as 2025. We have the announcement, and this is kind of where we're going to leave off of the general things for Xbox Games Showcase. We have the announcement of the new digital console for the Series X. So this is the new console that we've been hearing a little bit about in the rumor mill, or postulating might be announced at this game showcase. It's just a digital version of the Series X console. So for those that don't know why they would be doing this, because there's already a digital only version of the Series S, remember that the Series X is a much more powerful console. It's proper 4K, whereas the Series S is 2.5K, I believe. And you get a more powerful GPU, a more powerful CPU, and more storage. I think there's something else I'm leaving out. But either way, basically, the only difference between that Series X that they have announced in the game showcase and the Series X that I bought is that the Series X that I bought has a physical media drawer, or a physical media slot, I guess, whereas the all-digital one will not be able to accept physical media. So, and then they also announced color options for existing hardware, which is okay. That's worthy of a giant announcement. So that's basically what we got that's noteworthy but not huge for Xbox Games Showcase. Ubisoft Forward, I'm going to save you an hour and 10 minutes of your time. Go check out the gameplay chunk of Star Wars Outlaws, because it kind of gives you a little bit more of a feel for what that game is. Kind of Star Wars meets Metal Gear, which looks really cool. And then the Prince of Persia stuff. Everything else that happened in the Ubisoft Forward was absolutely not worth your time. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, the remake, was given a release window in that whole Prince of Persia section, which is sometime in 2026. So we are 2 years away from getting the Sands of Time remake that we've been waiting for. That's, I think, like 4 to 6 years already. I can't remember exactly. And then that puts us into the trailers. So now we're going to get into a little bit more detail of some of the bigger trailers. So the first thing in the Xbox Game Showcase was Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We got a couple of things to talk about here. We got the pre-order. If you follow the link to the video, you can go to the pre-order there. There's also a link to the pre-order if you don't care to watch the trailer. You already know you're going to get Black Ops 6. I have a link to the pre-order down in the description as well. The interesting part about this, aside from the fact that the trailer looks badass, but it will require an internet connection even for single player modes. If you have followed Call of Duty Black Ops 6 in your game console, or you pull up the digital version on your console, you must be connected to the internet to play it. Even for single play. That's just, oh, we are in such a weird time for gaming. The next trailer that absolutely you must go check out from the Xbox Game Showcase is Doom Dark Ages. This one was rumored. This is confirmation of the rumor. We now know for sure that this is a thing that's happening. It is going to be released sometime 2025, as well as we're getting mechs in Doom. That looks so awesome. The next one in the release for the game showcase. Wow, sorry, words. Game showcase. The next one is Starfield Shattered Space, the expansion for Starfield. Will this be enough that is going to get people to come back to this game? I don't know. I think that Bethesda really needs to overhaul their game dynamics, the way that they develop gaming, in order for fans to really come back in droves. The trailer looks interesting, but kind of, I don't feel it, man. I don't feel the excitement for this expansion like I feel like we should. The next one from there is South of Midnight. This is another example of games as art, in my opinion. This one looks, I mean, we talked about it when it was originally announced. I think it was the last year, it might have been the year before, but I'm pretty sure it was the last year. But there wasn't a whole lot there. Now it looks like it's going to be a Souls light, I think is how I heard them describe it. But just the visuals of this game look pretty freaking awesome. It's like stop motion animation in a video game, and everything looks like the image that conjured in your brain when I said those words. That's basically exactly how this looks, and I'm kind of excited to see it executed properly. And then we got the Metal Gear Solid Delta gameplay. Oh man, there's a lot here. There's actually 2 trailers here. One of them was not released during the games showcase. It's David Hayter, kind of behind the scenes, a little more in-depth kind of situation where he goes over just how much they have changed the mechanics of this game. So gameplay-wise, as far as the way you control Snake and the way you control the camera, you have 2 options. You can switch between legacy controls, so if you're really an old school Metal Gear Solid gamer like I am, and that's how you want to play the game, you want to play it just like you remember it, then that is absolutely an option. Or you you can play it in the updated gaming control scheme, which they didn't really go into any sort of great detail as to what exactly that means. But I mean, I haven't played anything since Snake Eater, so I probably will be playing the legacy controls anyway. But David freaking Hayter is actually doing the voice again, and there's a little bit in the behind the scenes about that. This just looks fantastic. One of the really, really cool elements that they have updated for this version of the game, aside from the visuals, obviously, is the damage system. So if you get shot, the character model is wounded in real time. So those wounds will go with you throughout the rest of the game. You have to address them, and you have to take care of yourself while going through this game. So it's going to be ridiculous levels of detail. And this is kind of what I've been waiting for. Like, I know I could play something like Tarkov or one of the new Tarkov replacement games now that Tarkov's dying. But that seems a little daunting. Like, that's a level of detail that I'm not sure I'm ready for in a game. But this Metal Gear seems like, because I'm familiar with the franchise and because it seems like this added element of detail is exactly what I've been looking for in a game for a while. So I'm even more stoked for this game. The next trailer that we're going to talk about is Perfect Dark. This is a very interesting update for the franchise in that we have some more mobility options. Now, I never really played any sort of in-depth for the first two games, the original release and then the sequel. I didn't play those in any sort of depth, but I don't remember any parkour elements for it. It's just, it's the studio, it's Rare, giving us another FPS because they kind of hit it out of the park with GoldenEye, and then they were like, okay, well, we can't make another franchise game like that, but we can definitely take what we've learned from that and make something equally as awesome, and that's what they did with Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark, the sequel, there's things there. Go watch what happened about that one if you want to really get into that kind of rabbit hole. But this new remaster, remake, whatever the hell you want to call it, looks like they are adding some really interesting like platforming elements, a la some parkour. I can't remember was it State of Decay? I don't think it was State of Decay, but there was like a post-apocalyptic zombie game that came out a few years ago, and then I'm totally drawing a blank on right now, that it looks like it's merging that kind of gameplay elements into it, and that looks pretty damn awesome. And then Fable, we got a release window for Fable. The only reason I put this in this section instead of the previous section is because it's Fable, and it's like it's one of the coolest RPGs on the Microsoft ecosystem, so we have to kind of go in a little bit more detail here. I feel like this trailer conveys the look of the game a little bit better than we've gotten previously. They've definitely updated the character models. We have a release window is 2025, so sometime next year, and we got a little bit better flavor of the humor associated with this franchise. Not the best. It's still kind of leaving a little bit to be desired, but I feel like this is going a good way in reassuring fans of the franchise that they're not just going to drive it into the ground. So go watch the trailer. Again, links for everything are down in the description, so if you want to go watch any of these, I do definitely encourage it. That's why we're spending this time talking about it. Go check it out. Follow links down there. The next one that we're talking about is Fragpunk. This is another FPS. It's a hero shooter. Release window is 2025. It's not the one that leaked out, but it still looks pretty interesting. It's an interesting take on the free-to-play hero shooter. 5v5 instead of 4v4, and it's card-based, so your power-ups are cards that are scattered through the level, also cards that I think you can start each round with. It really looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, Fragpunk is definitely a trailer to go watch, and maybe you'll get as excited as I am. So from there, we're going into the final trailer that they ended the game showcase with, and that is Gears of War E-Day. So we see Marcus and Dom both together again in another game. So that's hype in and of itself. I've got some speculation revolving around this, though. We're going to get to in the speculation section of the rumor mill. But yeah, it looks like there's a lot of possibility that this is going to be awesome. But I have my doubts, so definitely go to check out the rumor mill section if you want to hear a little bit more about that. But yeah, check out the trailer too. And then outside of the Xbox Game Showcase, we have Street Fighter 6. We got a new trailer there. That's the M. Bison trailer. Bison drops June 26th. And then the final trailer for this episode. Oh boy, we went through so many. We have Starship Troopers Extermination. So this is an interesting game. We talked about this originally. It's been in early access on the PC exclusively for almost a year. By the time it goes live for Season 1, it will be over a year. Excuse me. And it's such an interesting timing because we've had Helldivers release since it's been in early access, and Helldivers is kind of like another version of the same idea behind Starship Troopers, at least the movie version of Starship Troopers, which the game is just an extension of the movie version of the IP. So October 11th is when it is going into Season 1. There is going to eventually, I did not see a proper release date for this, but eventually there is going to be a physical release as well. It could be October 11th that they're releasing the physical version. I did not see that explicitly laid out, so I'm not going to hold my breath. But you can download digitally on October 11th. That's when Season 1 rolls out, and that's when single player rolls out, and that is also when the console support rolls out. So it is going to be cross-platform between all three, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And once it rolls out, again, October 11th is when the Starship Troopers game is going to happen. So that is what we have for trailers. News, I guess, is go watch the... Oh, and WWDC happened. I don't have notes for that one yet. I haven't watched it because that's the time since that's been going and since filming. We'll just have to talk about that next week because there is a lot there. I just, again, don't have the notes. So from there, we're going to kill this section with the gaming suggestion this week. We have Metroid Dread for the Switch, return to the 2D gaming, the Metroidvania style that we kind of know and love, and that Metroid is one of the reasons why it exists, hence the name Metroidvania. It's 2.5D, as they like to refer to such things. It's rendered in 3D, but it's only a two-dimensional motion. And just, I mean, one of the more difficult Metroid games that you've ever probably played. And it was, I mean, it suffers from the same downfalls as all Metroid games from that, of that style, but always worth a play. So that is your suggestion for the week, Metroid Dread. So that gets us into the comic book section. We have another small comic book section this week. We have a new trailer to go over for a new DC, actually a DC arc we've talked about. And then we also have a new Avengers book announced. And that's kind of it. So let's do this. So no follow-ups or corrections. We do have a trailer to talk about. Absolute Power, the new arc that is going to be written by Mark Waid, art from Dan Mora. We talked about this when it was originally announced. And now we have a trailer for it to kind of hype you up for it a little bit. It looks like we're going to be getting another power loss story. Every couple of years, they kind of cycle through, like, we have a new alternate version of the Justice League, or everyone in the Justice League has lost their powers, or so-and-so is dead, and they don't really kind of get out of those three big arcs. So it looks like this is going to be another power loss arc. July 2nd is when it's going to be on shelves, so you'll be able to check it out. I mean, it looks like it's going to be good. Mark Waid is solid writing. Dan Mora, I did also good art, so like it's not going to be unenjoyable. It's just kind of unnecessary, if you could say that about any sort of entertainment. I don't know. I feel like there's a better story somewhere that they're just choosing to not tell because this is what sells books, I guess, in their eyes. So yeah, that's all we got for trailers. Let's move one piece of regular ass news, and that is the new Avengers Assemble book that Marvel has just announced. It's got a new series going to feature Captain America creating a new Avengers team. Avengers Emergency Response Squad is what it's going to be technically called. It's going to include Wasp, Hawkeye, Hercules, She-Hulk, and Photon. There's going to be a few others, but those are kind of the bigger, most noteworthy ones. Writer is Steve Orlando. It's coming out of the Avengers Blood Hunt crossover book from Jed McKay that's going on right now. It will be in dealing with vampires. So, I mean, here's at least something slightly more fresh than what they're doing over on DC. I feel like they're both clawing their way out, though, of the crazy nonsense gobbledygook that's going on right now. So yeah, we have Red Skull's daughter is going to be at the center of the vampire issue. That's all we really got from the little bit of information they've given. 5-issue series. So it's going to be a mini series, and it's going to be on shelves for issue number 1 starting September 11th of this year. And that it's kind of where we're at for comic books and books. So for suggestions this week in comics, did another Mark Waid classic, one that is honestly going to be feeding into a lot of the DC Universe movie stuff, and that is Kingdom Come is your suggestion this week. 4-issue book from '96. You can find it in a collected works. It was an Elseworlds story, so from the Elseworlds imprint. Written by Mark Waid, art by Alex Ross. We have the paintings for the covers were done by Ross as well, and it's an original idea, that's for damn sure. Definitely go check out Kingdom Come. That is your comic book suggestion for the week.
All right, nerds, let's be honest. We all have a caffeine addiction. Well, maybe not all of us, but a large number of us have a bit of a caffeine addiction. We like to drink the energy drinks. It helps with the gaming, it helps with the focus for those of us with the ADHD, and it just kind of generally keeps us pepped up while we're, doing the things we need to do, i.e. work, etc., etc. So, with the price of energy drinks kind of going through the roof, I literally was at the gas station just the other day, and some of my favorite energy drinks, I haven't really purchased them for a while, but some of my favorite energy drinks were over $4 a can. And the reason I haven't purchased them for a while, A, is because they're getting more expensive, but B, because we have a channel partnership. It's not really a sponsorship, it's a partnership. So I get a little bit of a kickback if you buy stuff by following the link down in the description. But Dubby has been doing a lot as far as my pocketbook is concerned, but also as far as the quality of caffeine that I'm consuming while drinking my energy drinks. Because Dubby is an energy drink, but it's a little bit more than just caffeine. I say a little bit more, but let's go through some of these other ingredients besides the caffeine. Also of note about the caffeine, though, before we get into the other things, is that the caffeine is not synthesized caffeine. So it's a little bit slower to absorb, so it lasts a little bit longer, which also means you don't have as much of a crash. The caffeine comes from coffee fruit extract, so that is an actual source of caffeine. It's not synthesized caffeine, which is the better way to get caffeine. You don't want synthesized if you can avoid it. But we have L-taurine, L-tyrosine, L-glutamate, the L-citrulline. All of these things are nootropics. They help your brain with function. The caffeine helps, especially again if you have the ADHD. Stimulants help you with focus, but also these other vitamins in here are what's going to help you a little bit more with focus and things of that nature. Now, it is not meant to diagnose or treat any sort of situation. This is not medical advice because I am not a doctor. The guys who make the drinks are not doctors either, but these things have been shown to help with that kind of stuff. Do your own research. Talk to your personal physician if you have any questions along those lines, or, just generally speaking, if you have any health concerns, it's probably something that you should take upon yourself. But this is one of the better money options as well, because the average that this breaks down to is approximately $1.30 or so per drink that you mix with the powder. So compare that to $4 roughly for a can of the other stuff, and you see pretty quickly how much money you can save by drinking this versus that. I did just order my second tub, so we will be doing a little bit more of a dedicated video for that. But until then, if you follow the link down in the description, you use the code Generally Nerdy at checkout, you will get 10% off of your entire purchase. They did also just roll out cans. Something to note though on the cans, they're not quite as cheap as the tubs because it's not the powder, they're pre-made obviously. But they are still a little bit cheaper than that $4 price tag. Approximately $3 a can if you buy the cans. And I'm pretty excited about the cans, I'm not gonna lie, I just haven't bought any yet, so I don't know what they taste like. Either way, Dubby partnered with the channel. Thank you very much, Dubby. Go check out Dubby for yourself. And until then, let's get back to the show, shall we, nerds?
That rolls us over into the TV section. This week in TV news, we have Anne Rice's TV world is getting just a little bit bigger. We have casting announcements for the new Star Trek series that I kind of forgot was in the works, plus a trailer for the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a bit more, so let's get into it. We have quite a few follow-ups this week for TV news, the first of which is the Ghostbusters, the animated series that's supposedly coming to Netflix. We now have a little bit of a release date for it. That's not much of an update, but it's at least an update, which tells us very possibly we're going to be seeing this Ghostbusters series before the end of the year, though I'm not going to hold my breath until we get something a little bit more concrete. This has been sitting somewhere in limbo since the, what was it, June of 2022. So yeah, again, not really going to hold my breath until we have some sort of concrete something. Our next follow-up has to do with the Suicide Squad Isekai series that's going to Hulu and HBO Max. That's part of the update. The other part is June 27th is when we're going to be seeing the first 3 episodes drop. Those first 3 episodes are dropping all together, and then from there it will be released 1 episode a week until the end of the season. I did not see an episode count, though I would be surprised if it's anything over 10. So we'll be seeing, what is that, 7 weeks of releases for the Suicide Squad Isekai. And if you, for those who don't remember, this is the anime styled Suicide Squad show that is done by a Japanese animation studio, so it's going to be, and I believe it's even in Japanese originally. I'm fairly certain, though, there's going to be an English dub and probably also a sub for the American servers for Hulu and Max, but yeah, we won't know that 100% until it launches, although it could be wrong. They might have already announced it, and I just don't remember. Either way, let's move on. Next up, we have The Boys. Season 5 has been announced to be the end of the mainline series. But for those fans of this franchise, do not fret. There is going to be much more of the universe that this series has started, the live-action universe for The Boys. Eric Kripke has said that the franchise is not dead. There are other spin-offs and things in the works, so we will see more. It's just Season 5 will be the end of the Homelander and Billy Butcher story arc, which is kind of, if I'm remembering correctly, I didn't read much of the books, but if I'm remembering correctly, that's kind of the focus of the books anyway, so it makes sense. So then the final follow-up that we have in this in the TV section is the Anne Rice TV universe is getting a little bit bigger. So far we have Interview with the Vampire. It's in its 2nd season. I am in the middle of watching it. I'm not quite caught up yet. So we have Interview with the Vampire, and then we have the Witches series, which did fairly well, though I have yet to watch Season 1. Season 2, I believe, is scheduled for later this year, so I have a little bit of time to catch up. And now we have the official announcement that they are actually going to be picking up the Talamasca series. Talamasca is going to be the first of these series that does not have a direct book source material, in that there's no book series about the Talamasca. The Talamasca are referenced in Rice's materials, and I'm pretty sure she talks about him in the Mayfair Witch, in that series, and I know she talks about him in the Vampire series because that's where it came from. I've only read the one Mayfair Witch book, so I can't remember if it was in there. But yeah, Talamasca is now getting a series series unto itself. It is going to be a procedural of sorts, though it's obviously dealing with supernatural things because it deals directly into the Witch series and the Vampire series. So I'm pretty psyched about that, not gonna lie. That's what we got, like I said, for the corrections and follow-ups. Let's talk about some trailers that have dropped this week. We have a new Gremlins series that's coming out. It's called The Wild Batch. This is going to be, it looks like it's the same animation as the Netflix series, or was the first series also on Max? I'm just seriously drawing a blank right now, but either way, it's just similar animation to the first series. It did not say that it was going to be a direct sequel to that, so it's probably just existing in the universe of the Gremlins. Go watch the trailer, though. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun for the kids and such, because that's definitely the target audience for this. Next on the list of trailers for TV this week, we have the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This one comes August 9th. It will be on HBO Max as well. And this is the animation for this. Now, the movie that just came out, the Seth Rogen movie that just came out, was 3D animated, but there was a definite style to that 3D animation. This Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is going to be cell animated, but it has a similar style to the 3D animation in the way that it feels like they're frame skipping and just the general design of all the characters. And it is, in fact, going to be a continuation of that universe that we got in the most recent animated movie. So that's pretty awesome. The trailer looks like it's going to be more of that very spot-on feel to the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, though it still continues with the issues that were brought forward with that new animated movie as well. So not really going to fix anything, but it's not going to break anything anymore either. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have, actually, our next trailer is a little bit of an announcement as well. We have the trailer for season 2 of Arcane on Netflix. And it's been announced that Arcane Season 2 is going to be the final season for the series. So not even League of Legends can make it more than 3 seasons on Netflix. League of Legends is like one of the biggest properties in like the gamer sphere of entertainment. Arcane Season 1 did incredibly well, so why they would be canceling it after Season 2, I couldn't find anything that said if it was getting canceled because of performance, which I doubt is a thing, or if this is just we're coming to a logical conclusion and then maybe the production staff will go into another series based in the same world. I would venture if Season 2 does as well as Season 1, they're going to want that, but I don't know. I guess time will tell from here. So that's what we have for trailers this week. And then we have one piece of regular-ass news to talk about, and that is Star Trek Starfleet Academy. We have a casting announcement here, and the reason this isn't in a follow-up is because when I was doing the notes, I did not remember talking about this when it was announced, but since I wrote the note for this one, I feel like there is something in the back of my brain that's saying we did talk about this. So I don't know. My apologies if we haven't, or if we have rather. Paul Giamatti has been cast as the villain for the new series. A little bit more, because again, I do remember reading about this series previously. Whether or not we talked about it is where the question comes up. But I do remember reading that the series was going to exist. But that's all I remember reading about it. And now we got a little bit more clarity here, in that it's going to be in the same world, I guess you could call it, as the Discovery series, Star Trek Discovery, in that the last few seasons of Star Trek Discovery took place in the 32nd century. This series is also going to be taking place in the 32nd century. So the new world that was set up with Star Trek Discovery is going to be expanded on in Starfleet Academy. So interesting, though still, I don't know, I'm a Deep Space Nine guy. I don't know what to tell you. But that's what we got for regular ass news. So all that leaves is our suggestion this week, and by the time you're watching this, it's probably going to be live on Amazon Prime, and that is The Boys Season 4. I mean, if I were to suggest anything else, you wouldn't listen, because you're going to go watch The Boys Season 4 anyway, so that's your suggestion for the week.
Hey nerds, did you miss me? So, this is just your weekly reminder to subscribe. That way, he feeds me and we can afford to do basically just the food things, yeah. Food's good. So if you subscribe, all you gotta do is like click that button, and it does a lot. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. Just the energy to click a button, which, if you don't got that, maybe you should check out the sponsor, because they'll help you with the energy. But either way, subscribe, do the thing. I really appreciate it, because I like food. And yeah, there we go. Let's get back to the news, shall we? Okay, bye.
And on to the movies section. We have Michael Flanagan getting a new movie project announced. We have Late Night with the Devil getting a re-release into theaters. And Kevin Smith is losing a little bit of a familiar battle. It's not the weight one, though. Let's talk about all that. So let's start things off with the follow-ups. And in follow-ups, we have that Late Night with the Devil thing that we talked about in the tease. We have Late Night with the Devil is getting re-released into movie theaters. It's not getting re-released because they reshot anything or because like there was some sort of critical mistake like they usually re-release movies for things like that. This is getting re-released because it's doing fairly well in streaming, so they're adding a couple of things to the movie. So the new content that they're adding is going to be an introduction from the star, and I believe he's one of the producers on the project, David Dastmalchian. He's going to be introducing the movie. I don't know exactly. It's probably something like along the lines of 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes tops. And then after the actual feature plays, if you stick around in the theater, which I'm sure nobody will, but if you're going to see it again in theaters, then I feel like you're kind of a movie nut, and this is right up your alley. But if you stick around after the credits, there's going to be a Q&A between Dastmalchian and Kevin Smith, who we're going to talk about here in just a second. This actually started on the 6th of this month, so just the day after our last episode. So I did not see an end date as to when this is going to come out of theaters, so it's entirely possible that this has already been removed from theaters for the second time. But if you can find it in your area, I feel like that's worth rewatching that movie. And it's a pretty decent horror movie. Like for modern horror, it's not bad. But that's the only follow-up we had. No corrections. Let's talk now about the regular news. This week in the regular-ass news, starting us off, we have a new Mike Flanagan movie has been announced, and that movie is the next Exorcist movie. Mike Flanagan has been brought in to direct the next installment. So they are not actually going to move forward with David Gordon Green's trilogy. They're canning the original trilogy idea from the last Exorcist movie because it did horribly, and they're bringing in kind of the go-to guy right now for horror besides James Wan, and that is Mike Flanagan. If you're looking for like legit horror, Mike Flanagan's the dude. If you're looking for a modern jump scare horror, then that's when you go to James Wan. But yeah, so pretty awesome. That's all we really know about the project right now. So let's move right along. And we're talking next about the 4:30 movie, which is the next movie from Kevin Smith. Now, Kevin Smith just did the podcast, what is it, Inside of You with Lex Luthor. I can't think of his name. But he just did the Inside of You podcast, and he's talking about specifically about the 4:30 movie, and it just got a rating. So the 4:30 movie is done. He made it. It's ready to be rolled out. And so he sent it to the MPA board, and the MPA sent him back and said, all right, this is getting an R rating. So a little bit behind the scenes action, when a director or whoever made the movie, the production company, whatever, sends a movie to the board to get a rating, if they were aiming for a specific rating, then they can appeal the rating from the board without changing anything and kind of plead their case, which Kevin Smith has done a number of times. He had to get his original movie Clerks, he had to talk down from an NC-17. Zack and Miri Make a Porno was also an NC-17 originally, and without changing anything. He didn't cut any content to get those down. He just kind of argued his case. Jersey Girl, I'm pretty sure, was an R rating originally, and he talked that down to the PG-13 that he got. And I think Yoga Hosers something a little bit more recent. He talked down the rating as well. So this is something that he's done before, but it sounds like he did not win this time around, and it is going with the R rating unless he wants to cut some sort of content from the movie. Though it sounds like, because this is going to be a movie that deals primarily with teenagers, and the reason it got the R, and apparently what they told him too is there's a difference in R ratings. So because his argument was like, this is a movie about kids who are kind of foul-mouthed and make obscene jokes, but really nothing more than you can catch on like basic cable anymore. So he doesn't understand why he got the R rating. And so the response back to that comment was, well, there's different R ratings. There's soft R's like we're giving to you, and then there's hard R's like most horror movies or something that's really foul or obscene. So he said, okay, so what you're telling me is you would put my movie about teenagers in the same categorization as Human Centipede. I love that he kept coming back to the Human Centipede movie, and apparently that's kind of what they're going with. So we'll see. It is set to be in theaters this summer. Distribution from Saban Films, just like the Clerks 3 movie got. So probably he'll be doing a tour again to promote it, though I would imagine it will be more a promotion through his theater that he owns up in Jersey, the Smodco Theater. So when he announces tour dates, if he announces tour dates, we'll definitely talk about it and follow up. But until then, that's what we got for movie news. Let's get into the suggestion this week for movies. This is kind of a weird one because I actually just rewatched it, and it's a little bit more fun than I remembered. And it's Tron Legacy, the second Tron movie. Honestly, the biggest reason to watch this is because Daft Punk's soundtrack to this movie is second to none. There is not a better movie soundtrack out there besides this, so that is kind of the biggest draw. But honestly, the movie's a lot of fun anyway, as long as you can shut your brain off and you're not worried too much about the art of cinema or how well it ties into the first movie or anything like that. You're just there to have a good time. You'll have a pretty good time. Jeff Bridges is always a win. I don't care what he's in. So yeah, that is your suggestion for the week. Go check out Tron Legacy, if for no other reason than to see Daft Punk's amazing genius at work.
Maybe. It's classified.
All right, so let's round things out with the rumor mill. This week in rumors, we have the Dazzler rumor for Deadpool just won't go away and actually kind of reached a peak this week. We also have Halo on the PlayStation 5 and other gaming drama, plus the Power Rangers head in a new direction, apparently. All right, let's start things off with confirmations and refutations. We have a little bit of both, actually. First up, we have a confirmation for the Doom Dark Ages game. We talked about how it was rumored to be coming out. It was actually rumored to be announced at the Xbox Game Showcase, and it was announced at the Xbox Game Showcase. So I'm pretty sure we gave that a pretty high likelihood, but that one was an easy one to guess at. And then we have a refutation, and this one's going to drive some people mad for two different reasons. The first one is, or the actual refutation here is that no, Taylor Swift will not be in the Deadpool movie as Dazzler. She is not going to be playing Dazzler in the Deadpool movie. She is also very likely not going to be in the Deadpool movie at all. If Dazzler's in the Deadpool movie, it's going to be played by somebody else. So it's going to drive people crazy because it's a mention of Taylor Swift, so there's definitely a swath of people who, if you even say her name, are just like, just seriously enough already. And then also the people who are the opposite side of that, who are just going to be heartbroken because Taylor Swift's not going to be in a movie. So yeah, that's what we got for confirmation of reputations. We have no new sources. We do, though, have a few new rumors to go over. So let's talk about those. It looks like we have mostly gaming rumors this week. First up is Rocksteady Studios. We have word that Warner Brothers is very possibly going to be shuttering the fan favorite studio. A big part of the very large contributing factor, I guess I'm trying to say, is the failure of the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Warner Brothers has confirmed that that is a key element in the $200 million loss that they had last quarter. So it seems like there's some volition to this. It's from a pretty solid source. Most of my gaming rumors come from sources who are rarely wrong, and this is one of them. And also, we know that they've been underperforming recently. They have not contributed in a positive way to the business of Sony, or of Warner Brothers, rather. And so, yeah, we're putting this one at about 65% likely, and that's a little bit of a low number because, like I said, Warner Brothers has already told us they're not doing as well as expected. This would not be the first gaming studio that was shuttered for that exact reason, for not even a very long list of failures, but a very short list of failures. So I should probably go higher, but this 65 is just to make myself feel a little bit better about this whole situation. Our next rumor has to do with Halo. This one's actually been floating around the rumor mill for some time, but there's a little bit of new development to the rumor, so we're talking about it for the first time here on the channel. So Halo is, in fact, getting an upgrade. We will be seeing Combat Evolved built in the Unreal Engine 5. That is happening. That has been confirmed. The rumor portion of this, and that's actually the new part of it, that's been confirmed. So the rumor portion of this is that they're going to be taking Halo Combat Evolved once they have this upgrade version and bringing it over to the Sony platform, PlayStation 5. So, oh man, in a world where Microsoft is seemingly doing everything they can to get as wide of an audience as they can, that kind of lends itself to this. We've already seen them port over some formerly exclusive Xbox titles, but they were all fairly minor, less significant titles. There's also the element of why else would we just got an upgraded version. We got the, what was it, the 20-year anniversary edition of Combat Evolved, and that's what's in the Master Chief Collection. And so why would we be getting another upgraded version if it wasn't because they were crossing platforms? Is the strongest argument I've heard on the negative side of this, but it's, I don't know, it feels like there's a larger conversation to be had here, in that gaming exclusivity is kind of slowly dying. I mean, Linus just did a video, it was about a month ago, maybe a little bit more than a month ago, where they're trying to give a tier list for gaming consoles, and when they got into the more modern consoles, they're all so similar, all being the two of them. They're so similar to each other, as well as to lower end to mid-grade PCs, that it's hard to delineate the differences. So in that world, and also, you know, you take a look at format wars in the past, where it was the media format and not the actual player that came into question. It feels like we are heading in a direction. I don't think we're going in a direction where we're going to be sans console. I think it's going to be quite a while before we're getting physical media just completely eradicated. I think there's too much of a collector economy, too much of a fan base for them to completely get rid of physical media. Physical media will be further and farther between, but it won't be completely dead for quite some time, if ever. But that physical media, it would seem we're heading in a direction that you'll be able to take a disc and put it into any player in a similar fashion as we got with PCs, because there are how many PC manufacturers out there, and you can take a disc for a game and put it in any one of those manufacturers' PC, so long as it's not Apple, and play your game. So very possibly we're heading in that same direction with consoles. You'll have a Sony console or a Microsoft console, but there's not going to be anything exclusive one way or the other, and actually you'll be able to take that physical media, be it disc or memory card or what have you, you'll be able to take that physical media and put it in either console and it will work. I think that's more the direction that we're going to be headed, so long as Microsoft can convince Sony that that's going to be mutually beneficial, which I don't think it's going to be as hard as some people think it might be. So all of that being said, will they bring Halo to the PlayStation? I think right now that is not going to be a thing. I think right now, even though we do have plenty of reasons that it could go one way or the other, I think it's slightly more likely to go in that console exclusives still make money in that they move consoles. So Microsoft is going to hold on to a few exclusives. Halo is the biggest franchise they have. So because of that reason, and honestly, primarily that reason, we're going 40% likely that we will be seeing Halo Combat Evolved on the PlayStation 5. Now, 5 years down the road, will we see them open up new Halo titles to cross-platform in the eventuality that we see a console that will play anything? Yeah, I think that's within the realm of possibility. But right now, I don't think so. All right, so spend way too much on that one. Let's move right along. Our next one is not gaming related. It is actually Power Rangers related. So we've talked previously in the TV section about the Power Rangers series that is coming to Netflix, or was coming to Netflix. Well, now apparently it has been canceled. Hasbro has canceled the contract with Netflix, whatever state that was in, because they want to go in a different creative direction with, according to the rumor, with a different creative partner. So real quick, TLDR, in case you don't remember, this was supposed to be an Elseworlds, quote unquote, style story. This was going to be something that takes place in like a tangential universe that does not affect the main Power Rangers plotline that's going on for the Saban show. It does not affect any of those stories. It's going to be a story unto itself. We have seen Netflix's originals and Netflix's adaptations recently kind of start to dwindle, in that they don't have the same returns that they once did. So I think there's a fair, strong argument. I don't think there's much saying that this won't be happening. There's a fair amount saying that this is very likely. Once we get the announcement, which I think is only a matter of time at this point, we can confirm it. But until that point, I'm going to say about 85% likely that Hasbro has told Netflix to kick rocks, and they're going in a different direction for this Power Rangers live action series. So we have one last trailer to deal with, and it is Spaceballs. Apparently there is a sequel to Spaceballs in the works, and the sequel is going to be written by Josh Gad. Josh Gad is actually the reason why there is speculation here, because he's the one who's feeding the speculation on his social medias. He posted a title page for a script he has been working on with friends. I forget exactly who the friends are, but they're irrelevant to the rumor, in that Josh Gad's the biggest one that most people are going to know. So it looks like where they scribbled it out, it looks like you can read characters inspired by Mel Brooks, and then something about Spaceballs, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully, if you're watching the episode right now, you're seeing it on your screen. But yeah, that's the biggest clue that we have. He alluded to something that was Star Wars adjacent in an interview about a little over a year ago now, I think. So it's all based on what Josh Gad has to say. Josh Gad is a Star Wars fan, so it would not be surprising if he was working on the next lampoon of Star Wars. Is it going to be Spaceballs? Is it going to come with the blessing of Mel Brooks and the Brooks estate? That, I think, is the part that is the biggest in question. And because of that, I'm going to say we're looking at about 50% likely that this is... So it could go either way. There's enough kind of to go on that it's kind of riding that fence. So that's what we got for the regular rumors. There is one more subsection here, and that is speculation. There is one big piece of speculation I wanted to talk about. It's another kind of fad that we're seeing in entertainment these days. I mentioned it briefly in the gaming section because it has to do with Gears of War E-Day. My speculation here is that Marcus and Dom, on screen together again, the way that they're playing it in that trailer, it really feels like this is going to be a bait and switch. Because Emergence Day in the main story of Gears of War, sorry, brain fart. In the main story of Gears of War, we're past Emergence Day. By a long shot, we're past Emergence Day. And also, I'm pretty sure one of, if not both of those characters is dead in the main universe. So, because of that, like, yes, this could be a prequel through and through, and this could revolve around how Marcus and Dom, became buddies and whatnot and what have you, but I really feel like then this is my speculation. I really feel like we're going to be seeing a bait and switch from this, because these are the characters that everyone who likes this franchise have really glommed onto. They've really put a lot of emphasis on these characters. The fan base has, and so since they weren't, I'm pretty sure it was only just the last game that they weren't in at all. And the last game didn't do as well. So this time around, they're going to tease us with Marcus and Dom, and then we're going to see someone die, or we're going to update to modern times or something along those lines. We're going to go past the point that they left off in the last game, and we're going to get past that point of Emergence Day, and it's going to be a different protagonist. You're going to play as somebody else. I mean, I would say it's probably going to be a female protagonist, but again, last game they kind of did that already, so that wouldn't be as shocking as just the bait and switch that they're trying to do, which this wouldn't be the first time in modern storytelling and such that they've done this. I mean, see Scott Pilgrim takes off, there was another one that just happened that I'm totally blanking right now. Oh, the He-Man one, duh. The He-Man situation, the first season of Kevin Smith's He-Man show on Netflix, that happened as well. And then there's a couple other less noteworthy elements or examples of that happening. So that's my big speculation. I think we're going to see Gears of War E-Day be a bait and switch as far as who the playable protagonist is. And that brings us to the end of the rumor mill, nerds, and right into housekeeping. So the big, why does everything look so different this episode? We are out of town, and I was unable to, it logistically just didn't make sense for me to go all the way back home in order to film the episode. So staying out of town, I had gear with me, and that's what we're doing this week. So, there's a couple of things about this that, should it end up all right in the edit, should it make things easier, maybe I'll consider adapting some of this new look, because I kind of dig it, not gonna lie, but I don't know that's going to be any easier. Matter of fact, I'm fairly certain it's going to be a fair bit harder to edit. So also in that same line, this episode probably is going to have a lot less in the department of editing. Just because time is a factor, and also I just don't have the patience to do like the crazy. It's going to take a lot of doing, I think, this week. So a lot more doing than I normally put into it, because again, one-man show. So yeah, this was technically planned, but I totally spaced it off. Otherwise, we'd have talked about it last week rather, in the housekeeping portion of the episode. And then coming up, what is today, the 12th? We still don't have any concerts until next month. So next month is concerts. Next month, also, we were talking last week about Deadpool. I couldn't remember if it was this month or next month. It's next month. So we have Deadpool next month. Yeah, and you should be getting a shout out show and a proper that just happened. Actually, two that just happened, because last week's episode is not yet posted. So that'll be posted, and then this week's episode will get posted probably over the weekend into next Monday, somewhere around that neighborhood. So that's what I got for you, nerds. Thank you very much for sticking around. Thanks so much for clicking on the subscribe and, doing all the sharing and the thumbs up and the things and the stuff and the hey, let your friends know. We've been getting a lot. I know we do the subscribe stinger, talking about how a lot of comments recently have talked about the quality of the show. And I appreciate those comments very, very much. But the thing that will help just a little bit more, and I know beggars can't be choosers, but if you do appreciate the quality, tell people about it. Let people know that you can get your information here. I am a one-man show, and I cannot afford to do anything beyond just a one-man show right now until we get more people watching the show. So the best way for that to happen is for you, the loyal watchers, the people who watch all the episodes, to tell everyone you can who likes this kind of content about the show, so that we can grow and start to become self-sufficient. So that's what I got for you. Thank you very much, nerds. We will see you next week. It should be a regular show unless I'm forgetting something else, because ADD is fun. But otherwise, if you're falling behind in your nerd news and you want to catch up, you should be able to click or tap the box that's showing up somewhere around the circle that I am in. Whoa! And do that. If you're on any of the other platforms, then that's probably just sounds like nonsense. But either way, thank you very much, nerds. We'll see you next time. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.